everybody, what's going on? This is your girl Catrice, and if you are new, welcome to Cocktail Hour with Catrice. Listen, I was in the house minding my business today working, and I hopped onto the Instagram and I saw a clip, and I said, you know what, just suppress the feeling. Okay, suppress the feeling of commenting, and then my mind started to wander, and not in a bad way. I started having all these different emotions and feelings, and I said, now I have to talk about Rob Parsleys' daughter in the pulpit prophesying. I'm sorry, I apologize. Prophesying in her emotions and in her feelings, because that's what that was. That was not a prophecy. That was emotions and feelings from a PK. Like, can we normalize not allowing PKs to preach? Because my parent is a pastor does not give me the rites of passage to also pastor. That means God called my parent. Yes, I am the product of both of my parents. But that does not mean that I also am anointed to preach. Now, I might be, but my parent being a pastor does not give me the rites of passage to preach. Y'all watch this mess.
Some of you came and you ate and you left your dung, and you've done nothing to reinvest in the vision. You're a reprobate.
You better talk to those preachers out there.
The Bible calls you a reprobate.
Prophesy, prophet.
That means you've been turned over. When you're disobedient to what God tells you to do, especially in the realm of finances, you reap a curse upon yourself. And for those of you that have been a part of this ministry, I'm just going to talk prophetically here. You've been a part of this ministry. You've watched your family get saved. You've watched your family be healed. You've received personal miracles in your own body, in your family, and your finances. And you've left this place because you got in your feelings. You got your feelings hurt. If I left this place every time I got my feelings hurt, honey, I would have left when I was 3 years old. Grow up. Grow up. You're immature. You're immature and you're a reprobate. You think I feel like walking in here all the time and looking at you? You that have taken a paycheck and gotten on your Facebook and canceled us publicly. You think I feel like seeing you every day? No. Do you think it's easy to be his vessel this way? You think this makes me comfortable to say this? But I have to stand before God.
Don't you?
So there is some rhetoric that I've heard over the last 2 decades. In particular, it's the majority of the people that I've heard say this, and this is no shade, this is no tea, are from PKs that are actively in their parents' church and are actively, in the background talking about people behind after the church is over. I've been in those conversations before, so I know, okay? And they watch their parents get upset. They watch their parents cry. They watch their parents female dog and complain. Read between the lines. And then they take on their parents' burden. Okay, although the majority of them suffer at the hands of their parents because of their parents' narcissism. Because let's just talk about it. But the majority of the time that I've heard this type of rhetoric about a person getting in their feelings and they leave the church are from PKs that feel like they are forced to be in their parents' church. They feel like because I'm forced to be here or have to want to sit here and protect my parent and watch over my parent, that means that everybody else is mandated here. I want to give you all a breaking news moment right now. And before I say this, some people will say, well, you want to get mad and leave your job. Me having money and surviving in this world is mandatory. Me going to church is not mandatory. It is not mandatory for me to go into the 4 walls of the church, to sit with you, and to take whatever abuse is spewed out. I'm sorry, it's not. So for the PKs to get upset about that, get upset, baby. Okay? But because you feel like you are obligated to be there with your parent, and to watch over them and to protect them and all the above does not mean that I or anyone else is mandated to be there with you. And what happens is they get upset because they want you to be mandated the way that they're mandated in their own minds. A lot of these PKs are victims themselves of their parents' narcissism because they are the pastor, they are the mind of the woman of God. And so what happens is they look at their child, the pastor looks at their child saying, well, you have to be here with me to protect me. It's almost like a built-in armor bearer. And that built-in armor bearer makes sure that they're like the watchdog. They're like Peter. I remember back when I was in ministry, the eldest child, they called her Peter because she was the one, she would fight people, to get close to her mother. And I was just like, ma'am, ain't nobody trying to get that close to your mother where you got to fight. Like, it's not that serious. But in their minds, it was because I'm here to protect. And it's also funny to me that when they get into their feelings, they leave. Because that's what I'm talking from a personal experience right now of people that I know who are no longer at their parents' church because they got upset. It's the contradiction and the hypocrisy for me. So, Pastor Rob Parsleys' daughter, you all see her, she was in the pulpit as usual. They're always in the pulpit spewing their foolishness. They're always in the pulpit spewing their feelings and their emotions or whatever. And listen, if that's what they think is going to keep people coming to the church, her getting up there and giving this one to making people feel guilty about wanting to leave the church under their own volition, then so be it. That's what she wants to do. But I just wanted to make sure that I told the people straight up what it is. And that is, it is not mandatory for me to go to church. And here's the other component to that. A lot of people are not even going to church anymore. I watch a lot of content on social media, whether it be YouTube, TikTok, mostly those two platforms. I do watch a little bit of Instagram. I'm not really a big Meta person. But on the YouTube and the TikTok, people are talking about how they are abandoning Christianity. And it's a lot of women that are saying that because they're saying that the Christianity is governed and most religions are governed by the patriarchy. And so they don't want to be a part of it anymore because they want to live their lives out loud and in color and not be in constant servitude to a man and or children. Okay? And so I find it interesting that people are still spewing this logic in 2024 when folks can easily say, I don't have to be here. I can watch old school videos of your father from back in the day. I can watch Pastor Tony Evans from 10 years ago and get a word. I can go back and watch daggone what's his name? Bishop Eddie Long, Dr. Jamal. I can watch whoever I want to on social media right now to get a word if I need an uplifting. I can watch Bishop S.Y. Younger. I know I love S.Y. Younger. I can watch Bishop S.Y. Younger and he breaks down the scriptures. He makes things very easy to follow, right? I can watch anyone right now. I don't need to be here. And I think that the church, you would have thought because of the pan, that the folks would have gotten it then and they would have lightened up a little bit. Like, this is not the early 2000s where people were like, they made you feel really guilty and bad about not going to church. They really need to be careful because a lot of women are waking up. And a lot of women are saying, well, I don't even want to get married. I don't want a husband. I don't want to be in constant servitude. I want to live my life out loud in color. I want to travel. I want to do all these things. Why do I need to be in the church? Because if it were not for the women, there would really be no church. There are some men there. There are. But for the most part, it's a lot of women in the church. And so it's like, if I don't want to be married, if I'm not interested in doing, and being a part of some major ministry, and you getting up in the pulpit and you talking crazy to me, I don't have to be here. And I'm going to cut out. And if you get mad because you feel like you're in constant servitude to your parents for pastoring and for you growing up as a PK, I don't feel bad for you. Can I be honest with y'all? I could care less about somebody telling me, oh, well, you can go and you got mad about something, baby. I got mad 10 years. I didn't even get mad. To be honest with y'all, I've been cleaning this over from the church. It'll be 10 years in September, right? I didn't even get mad. I just was like, you know what? I'm not even about to do this because somebody might get hurt. Somebody might get hurt, disappointed, bruised. Okay, let me just get about this church real quick and go and grieve my mother and all the countless other people that died in 2014. I need to grieve. Y'all stay over here and be stupid. I'm going to go over here and grieve real quick and get some therapy, which I have done in the last 9 years consistently. And y'all stay where you at. And the funny thing is that the people that I've seen and that were talking about me years ago and bad-mouthing me are now in a similar position. It is like, really? And then I just saw a clip of Pastor Rod Parsleys' daughter on TikTok. And the clip that I just showed you all goes into how she said she would have left when she was 3 years old or whatever. But apparently back in 2021, wow, listen, she was a grown woman at this time. She was not a child. She was a grown woman. She's also a PK. And I guarantee you, because her father is a mega pastor, okay, that she probably had some issues with people that were in and outside of the church, some internal issues, some maybe some physical issues. I don't know what she went through. And this young woman talks about how and I don't want to play a clip because she talks about taking herself out of here, but how she said that in 2021 she was sitting on her bed and that there was a GUN and she was going to use that to take herself up out of here. Let me tell y'all something. If you think that these PKs get in the pulpit, and I don't even know why the people keep putting these people up to preach. I can't. Okay. But if you think that they have their lives all together, you are sadly mistaken. Because listen, I got some tea last week. Baby, oh my God, if I was a trifling content creator, if I was a trifling commentator and a vlogger, baby, I would have put that out there last week and just sat there like this. And you know, like the Angela Bassett clip, how she walks away from the fire and wait to exhale. That would have been me last week. Okay. I would have set social media ablaze. And then I would have walked off with a cigarette in my hand and been like, what's up? But I'm not that trifling, right? But I know things that are going on. I'm not proud of it, but I do know. I'm not a person, y'all should know me by now. I don't just put information out there, you know, if I don't have any I don't have anybody that, you know, give me the clearance to do so, and or if I don't vet the information properly. I don't just put information out there like that. It takes a while for me to go through research, vet everything properly, and then tell you all, okay, y'all, guess what's going on? Let's have a conversation about X, Y, and Z. But in this situation with Rob Parsleys' daughter, I think that this is an ongoing problem. I've heard this rhetoric for, again, 20 years of my life, and it's constantly pastors and leaders trying to make people feel guilty about leaving the church. And here's another piece. I was talking to my mentor about some stuff this morning, but my mentor from years ago, she's still my mentor. I still love her dearly, but she's the one that's been in my life the longest. We were talking, and I remember a time where, and this is no offense, no tea, no shade. If you know who my former pastor is, do not take this the wrong way. I'm just telling you all what happened. So apparently there was some conference back in the early 2000s. It was in New York. And when I first started going to the church, it was standing room only. Like you had to get there early in order to get a seat. And then all of a sudden, I think I was there for maybe 6 months or so. And then all of a sudden it was like open seating. You could just come in and just sit wherever. You're going to get a good seat. You're going to get a good seat. The pulpit, the church was pretty narrow at the time, and you're going to get a good spot. So what was I going to say? So apparently I don't know what happened. There was some major conflict or whatever, but a group of the elders went to this conference in New York at one point, and I guess I didn't know that it was really bothering my pastors at the time, that people just got up and left. And I also didn't know the ins and outs of everything as to why people left. I found out eventually, but at the time I didn't know. Well, it was reported back to me through one of the elders, because that's what they would do. They would talk. If y'all want to know how I know it, I know. So my female pastor at the time, it must have bothered her a lot. And so they were in one breakout session and they were asking different questions. And so she posed a question as to, what do I do if people decide to leave the church? She said, you know, I want them to stay. I don't want them to leave. You know, I think she definitely struggled with abandonment issues. And the facilitator said, let them go. If they want to leave, if they no longer want to be a part, then if you're trying to force them to stay or manipulate them to stay, then they're going to cause a cancer within the ministry. Like, let them go. And apparently, according to my source, this is not an answer that she wanted. She wanted for them to tell her they need to stay, they need to serve, they need to do X, Y, and Z. And the facilitator was like, no. they have their own free will to do whatever they want to do. You can't force people to stay in your congregation. Now, would it be nice for them to stay? Sure. Would you know, is it ideal for them to stay in your congregation? Absolutely. But do they want to stay is the question. If they don't want to stay, let them go. And apparently that made her very, very upset. Let me tell y'all something. You could tell by what Rob Parsleys' daughter was talking about in this video that they have conversations in the background. And you can tell that somebody's talking about the pastor and or leaders and the church. They've been bad-mouthing situations. They've probably been on social media, you know, spreading their foolishness. Whatever it is, they have been talking and doing different types of things. They must have got back to leadership and the pastor and the pastor's daughter. And then she decides to air her feelings out over the pulpit. This is not uncommon. I mostly see it in the black church, but this is not uncommon in the church at large, right? So, and for her to do this, it's like, I think we need to give them I don't even want to give a gentle reminder. I want to give them a reminder. We're not forced to be at your parents' church. Your parents' church, if it's garbage and trash, your father just got yelled out a couple of months ago for yelling at one of the associates or whatever. Like, people don't have to deal with the abuse anymore. We're not in the age where folks are just gonna serve blindly. And you do have some people that still do, okay? But we're not in the era where people are going to be blindly following and blindly serving just because it fits your narrative. It makes you look good, or your parents look good, or you know, you need it for the numbers and for the money. It's not that kind of situation, okay? And so with that being said, they need to let this go. All right. If the people don't want to be at your church, it is not mandatory. It is not a mandate. Okay, your numbers are your numbers. That doesn't mean that the people have to give, right? And obviously it's about money. Everything's about money with the church. I mean, come on. So if you're not making the money that you were making, then you need to ask the question within first. Start by asking, okay, well, what's going on where people don't want to give, or what have they seen where they don't trust to give here? Because again, we're not forced to be here. We're not forced to give. We're not forced to be present in the congregation for you and for your pockets. You can give to Daggone Feed the Children. I know my mentor from years ago, she was giving to those things on TV with the kids. She was like, I need to give my tithes, but I don't want to give it to a church. I'm giving it over here. And over the last couple of years since I've been doing YouTube and talking about the church, I've heard of more older, wiser women saying, I'm not giving it to not one more church. And they said, I gotta go for 3 to 6 months, give them a probationary period. And if I don't feel comfortable, then I'm not giving them nothing. Again, we're not forced. Because you show up, that doesn't mean that you have to do anything. If I'm coming to visit your church, you should be happy that I walked in that son of a you know what. Like, I really wanted to cuss right there, but I'm trying to be better. Okay? Like, stop trying to force people to be in your congregation. And guess what? If the church goes down because nobody wants to be there, nobody wants to give, that is an internal issue. That has nothing to do with the people. It has everything to do with the leadership. Who is in leadership? The same thing for a Fortune 500 company. If a person is in charge of a Fortune 500 company, then that would determine how things go in business. So if something's going on in your local church, then you have to start with the head first, baby. Whether it's a man of God or woman of God, start with the head first and then see what happens from there. If your own children don't want to be a part of your ministry, then it is a you problem. If the people don't want to give in your church, it is a you problem. Because they don't have to give their money where they don't want to. And you're not finna guilt nobody into giving it. You guilting people to give you money is a desperate move, beloved. You trying to guilt somebody into giving you $5, $10, $10,000, baby, it is a guilt. Like, nobody wants to do that. Jesus, this was wrong. This was all the way wrong. And hopefully she gets it right, child. I doubt it though, but hopefully she get it right. But when I say I doubt it, I doubt it. You could just, it looks like pride is her portion. And I've seen so many PKs, and if this does not apply to you, if it don't apply, let it fly. If you're not that kind of PK, and this is the other part, I want more PKs to start holding their parents accountable. If you are dealing with a narcissistic parent and a narcissistic pastor, okay, and you know it, it is time for PKs to start holding their parent accountable. You know what, Mom? or dad, listen, I love you unconditionally, okay? However, you can't talk to people like that. Mom, dad, cousin, whoever, you know what you did was wrong. Why don't you shift? Why don't you ask God to take something out of you that doesn't need to be there? Instead of holding these people accountable, they give them passes. Why? Because they are the mind of the woman of God. I don't want to keep hearing it. Because guess what? When your church falls apart, it will be you all holding the bag. No one's going to be there besides the pastor, the pastor's children, and the board. That's it. No one else is mandated to be there. The board is only mandated to be there because they are the ones that run the church when it comes down to the nonprofit and the faith-based status. That's it. They're not forced to. Just because I'm a part of the board doesn't mean I have to go to the church. You get what I'm saying? That means my name is on the roll as being a part of the board. I don't have to do nothing. So if it don't apply, let it fly. But it's time for y'all to start holding your parents accountable. If you're a PK, this is a exclusive request from Cocktail Hour with Catrice. Start holding your parents accountable for their poor behavior. It's not always the congregation. Sometimes it's your parent. Sometimes your parent is arrogant. Sometimes your parent is a butthole. Sometimes your parent is nasty. Sometimes your parent is rude. Sometimes it is your parent. It's not always the people outside because they've been called by God. Don't make them perfect. Check your parent first. And if it's not them, then go to the congregation. But if it is, check them and let it die there. We would not have the amount of foolishness in the church had people start checking these men and women of God. We would not have platforms on YouTube if you all would start checking your parents. You know they're narcissists. So if they're narcissists to you, what about the people in the church? You do realize that people don't have to be here. And also, people are walking away from the ministry. They're saying we are tired of playing this game with these men and women of God. Let them stay where they are. If they don't want to act right, fine. Let them stay over there. I'm going to stay at home. I don't have to tune in. I want to just do my own thing and mind my business and stay black, white, purple, green, and die. Let me work out my own soul salvation with fear and trembling and leave me alone now. That is where people are. The rhetoric that I hear on social media now is we don't even want to be bothered with the men of God, and so we're tired of the patriarchy and we want to be left alone. That's what most women are talking about now. A good portion of them. And you think that people want to be bothered with their narcissistic parent? And you know that they're a narcissist and you don't check them? And then you want us to continue to go to the church? No. Start checking your parents. Listen, had the people had checked their parents back in the day, they would, I know from my former church, and I love my pastor still to this day, but there was a lot of things that were done. And people were leaving notes, writing emails, doing all kinds of nasty stuff because she hurt their feelings. He hurt their feelings. And instead of the children checking them, they allowed them a pass. They did not correct them. Although, I know for sure one of them knew their parent had a problem. And they refused to check it. Until they got good and tired and said, the problem is not them, it is you. You need to get this under control. They don't have to kiss your tail. I have to be with you until you die. They don't. What is so hard about that? What is so hard about that? I have to be here to take care of you. I have to be here to love on you. They are not obligated to be with you the way that I'm obligated to be here with you. When my mother was going through cancer, nobody was obligated to go to my mother's side to be with her, except for my sister and I. Her sisters and brothers helped. Well, her sisters did, not her brothers. They came over to gossip. But they were not mandated to do that. That was my job. That was my sister's job. So it is up to the children especially if you are grown now and your parents are getting up in age. Stop allowing the poor behavior and check your parents. This was all the way wrong for Rod Parsley, Pastor Rod Parsley's daughter, because this could have been a conversation at the house. They could have had a green leaf moment at the dinner table. Stop talking to your staff like trash. Start being more respectful to people. You don't know how much longer you have on this earth, and you steadily talking junk to people. Get it together, Dad. Be respectful, Dad. Start loving the way that Christ loves. That you don't have to fuss at people, Dad, in order to get your point across. Just tell them how you feel in love. No, instead of checking your parent at home, because he's all the way wrong. She decided to wait until she got in pulpit, where they feel big bad and like that, you know what, like that, and then they want to talk all their junk, and then they want to put everything out on the people, when really they need to have an internal conversation at home. Get home, have the conversation, and let it die there. Don't bring it into the church if it don't apply to them. Let it fly. God, I'm so sick of these people at this point. Like, Jesus, every time you turn around, they doing something else they ain't got no business, and then they want to blame it on everybody else. Baby, it ain't us. If every time you turn around, somebody fussing about something that's going on in your local church, it's the people every time. Get up out of here. Anyway, y'all, I just wanted to get that off my chest, because I've heard this for 20 years. It's like 20 years of blame, actually it's like 20 years of victim blaming. And it's actually getting to the point where people are like, okay, you know what? I love God, but I don't want your Jesus. And you're losing souls. That's the biggest piece. You're not gaining souls for the kingdom. You're losing souls at this point. Every single day, every clip, every scandal, everything that has to do with the body of Christ, every time you turn around, you are losing the souls. You're not winning them. And actually they're not even walking away. They're running away from you. And you mad. You big mad. Because they decided to choose themselves over you or your narcissistic parent. Or you bishop, or you pastor, or deacon, whoever you are. They getting sick of y'all mess. And you still gonna be sitting there having the same old service with the same old 3 people. Talking about the people that left and took all their money with. I have seen churches be cleared out. I told y'all when I first went to the church, my only last church that I was at for 10 years, when I first got there, it was standing room only. You had to get there church started at 11. You had to get there about 10:15. Baby. And then it got to the point where I could walk in at 12:05 and get a seat. So come on now, let's stop playing this game. And also stop trying to put y'all kids up because you feel like, okay, they're the only ones that I trust. Because guess what? Half of them don't even like you either. They tolerate you because they get the money. They get to the bag. they're getting the clout off your name. Rod Parsley. Okay. They're not just doing this just because. They probably don't even like it. Why do you think so many PKs are out here shucking and jiving, dipping and dabbing and doing it? They're out here doing lines of the white girl. You give the white girl. They doing everything. They're smoking the green stuff. They're out here doing unbelievable things because of the pressure of having you as a disgruntled, narcissistic parent. We about tired at this point. And I can't put all the blame on her because she's just sitting around listening to her father sit at home, female dog, and complain. And then feeling some type of way because it's like, hold on, I have to be here. Why do they get a chance to go out and do what they want to do? Because that's not our job. Your father is a jerk. He's nasty. He's rude. He needs a wake-up call. Me and this little knack gonna get on my nerve. He needs a wake-up call. Okay? Praise the Lord. Now time go have a V8 sit down someplace and get right with God and do it now. Get right with God. He will show you how. Huh? I'm gone. See y'all. Bye.